Greetings and welcome to a special edition of the SCR5 Safari Show. Today, we are going to explore the fascinating journey of the Santa Cruz Island fox and learn about the different ways that plants and animals travel across Mother Earth. Santa Cruz Island is a part of the Channel Islands, which are located about 22 miles off the coast of Santa Barbara. The buildings at Rio del Sol were named after the Channel Islands: Anacapa, Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, San Miguel, and Santa Rosa. But one question continues to spark our interests. How did the Santa Cruz Island fox and the native plants make it to Santa Cruz Island? That will be the driving question for this scientific adventure. Join us as we hypothesize and investigate the miraculous tale of the Santa Cruz Island fox and the native plants that inhabit the Channel Islands. Our tale begins nearly 16,000 years ago with the Chumash Native Americans, who are the indigenous people that originally inhabited Oxnard and Ventura. The Chumash lived in harmony with the land and sea, and also lived peacefully with the native plants and animals of this area. They would use the local plants and animals for everything from clothes to food and even medicine. One animal that was beloved by the Chumash was the playful and curious Southern California fox. Long ago, this fox was only found on the mainland of California, and during this time, the earth looked and felt much different than it does today. About 16,000 years ago, the earth was in an ice age, which means the temperature was much colder, and a lot of the ocean was frozen as ice in the North and South poles. This meant that the oceans all over the world were much shallower, even the Pacific Ocean. Instead of 22 miles of water separating the Channel Islands from the mainland of California, there was likely a much shorter distance, or even an ice bridge that connected the two lands. But let us return back to our main character to continue this tale of how the Santa Cruz Island fox came to be. One day, our friend the Southern California fox was playing with its pack of friends when all of a sudden, the sky grew dark and large clouds began to roll in from the mountains to the sea. The winds tossed the orange and black fur of the foxes, nearly pushing one of them over. The foxes looked up to the sky and knew what was coming. A storm! The storm was furious, and the wind blew debris all over the place. It was a very dusty storm because of how hot the previous summer was. The foxes huddled closely together so they wouldn't get separated. They watched as leaves, dust, and even seeds blew in the gusts of wind. But little did they know, this storm would change their lives forever. As the foxes ran for cover, the storm got louder and rain began to pour from the sky. The pack of foxes found a big old fallen tree and climbed inside of it. The tree did a perfect job of shielding the foxes from the wind and rain, but the storm was not done yet. This was the storm of the century. The rain grew louder, and the wind blew harder than it ever did in the foxes' little lives. All of a sudden, the foxes could hear what sounded like a raging river. It was a flood! The floodwaters rushed through the area that the foxes were hiding in, and the big old fallen tree started floating in the torrent of water. The fallen tree had become a life raft for the foxes and carried them into the open waters of the Pacific Ocean. As the foxes rode the rush of water, they watched as entire bushes of blue sage, orange poppies, and white yarrow floated with them. One fox noticed the seeds falling off the bushes into the water, and even the seeds floated. The storm was blowing the dry brush and flowers. It was like it was raining seeds. Remember, this is happening over 16,000 years ago, when the ocean was much shallower and the distance between the Channel Islands and California was much shorter. The foxes cuddled together in their makeshift raft and weathered the waves, rain, and wind as they floated away from California. The storm slowly began to calm down, and the foxes felt like they would never get home. Until, all of a sudden, they heard a loud thud. The raft had landed on the shores of Santa Cruz Island. The foxes each carefully climbed out of the big old fallen tree and could not believe their eyes or noses. They pranced for joy, cuddled in celebration, and looked back at the mainland of California. The foxes were pretty dirty from their expedition, so they spent a few minutes cleaning themselves and rubbing against the rocks to get the burrs, twigs, and seeds out of their fur. Before the foxes arrived, the land of Santa Cruz Island was barren and did not have many plants. But now, these little animals had brought many different native seeds that had a new home on Santa Cruz Island. Their amazing and unexpected journey was possible thanks to the lower levels of the ocean, a big storm, a fallen tree, and a whole lot of luck. After living on Santa Cruz Island for a while, the Southern California foxes began to transform and adapt to their new home. They had less food on the island, so their bodies grew smaller in size. The colors of the island were different than the mainland, so their fur changed to help them camouflage. And the plants and animals were new as well, so their diets changed too. After all these adaptations, the Southern California fox had become a new, unique animal. The Santa Cruz Island Fox! Many years passed, and the foxes had a strong population on Santa Cruz Island. They even spread to other Channel Islands and created new breeds of foxes. They thrived on the islands for thousands of years, until they almost went extinct in the 1990s. In the 1990s, bald eagle populations in Southern California began to decline because of toxic pesticides. The bald eagles were the natural predators for the golden eagles. Without the bald eagles around to control the golden eagle population, The golden eagles began to spread out to the Channel Islands, and they were hungry. The golden eagles hunted the Santa Cruz Island foxes until there were only about 60 foxes left on Santa Cruz Island. Due to this imbalance in the ecosystem, humans stepped in to help save the Santa Cruz Island foxes from extinction. Humans bred the foxes in captivity so the young baby foxes could grow larger and stronger before entering the wild. They also relocated many of the golden eagles to new habitats away from the Channel Islands. In 2008, the Santa Cruz Island fox population was restored, and they are no longer in danger of going extinct. Thanks to conservation efforts by humans, we brought back the Santa Cruz Island fox populations to very healthy numbers, and today we get to appreciate the Santa Cruz Island fox and learn all about them. We hope you enjoyed learning all about the tale of the Santa Cruz Island fox. The end.